We're Americans. We like to think we're the best at everything, right?
We're always the best at this, right? Okay, so here are two of my favorite myths. The first is, if I have health insurance, I'm safe. I'm making that payment every month. And, you know, I think there's even a little element of, I'm making a big payment, so I must be really safe. Nobody reads a health insurance contract until you've been denied coverage. And so what my research shows and others' research shows is that health insurance is some protection, but not nearly as much as people think. The idea that those out there who have full health insurance are safe if they get sick is one of the biggest myths in the system. The second biggest myth in the system is that our current scheme overall gives us the best possible results. There are some really embarrassing data about how much better Canadians do, how much better Europeans do, how much better the Japanese do in certain kinds of health outcomes, in part because they are not using a private fee-for-services system of delivering their health care. The fact that we're going broke to pay for our health care does not mean we're getting the best health care. So, what else? Ask me to explain thermodynamics and I'm in big trouble. I'm going to stutter and kind of stumble around and drop my chin. Here we go. This stuff, I know. The data didn't show these tiny little differences and slight problems. The data were like an iron frying pan that would clunk. Families going broke because of health care payments. Got it. The reality is that half the families that filed for bankruptcy last year did so in the aftermath of a serious medical problem.
I think for many Americans there's a bit of a sense of false security. They say, well, I'm not one of the 45 million uninsured, and right. I have insurance, and I'm not going to get sick.
So let me tell you a story. When we were studying the families who filed for bankruptcy, I'd done enough with these families to know we were going to hit a lot of medical problems. Still, I was surprised that it was more than half of the families in bankruptcy. But here was the finding that really blew me away. 75% of the families who ended up in bankruptcy in the aftermath of a serious medical problem had health insurance at the onset of the illness or accident that ultimately landed them in bankruptcy. They had health insurance. In other words, they had played by the rules in every possible way. Got a good education, got a good job, bought a home, had health insurance, and yet the system is so misdesigned in terms of how big the bills can be and how narrow the protection from health insurance is. The people we interviewed, many of them had put second mortgages on the house to pay the surgeon. Many of them had run up $40,000 and $50,000 in credit card bills to be able to get the therapy they needed, to pay for the drugs that they needed. They now had the kind of bills, the kinds of changes in their lives that meant they're going to lose it all. They can't pay off the second mortgage on the house, particularly the ones who are still sick or the ones who are still at home trying to nurse a child who's sick or an elderly parent who's sick. So they get hit. It's like a 1-2 punch. They are less likely to be able to earn the incomes that they need to sustain themselves at the very same moment that the bills just go through the roof. There's a huge amount of financial misery that we have imposed on middle-class American families. And that financial misery stems from the fact that they get sick and they are now at risk for losing it all. They can lose every bit of it. The old life you once knew will be gone.
And what is the reason for that change? I know there are many reasons, but if you could just...
The two changes took place over the last generation at the same time. The first is that what we could do in the healthcare field it just exploded. It just went beyond anybody's wildest dreams in terms of outcomes, in terms of techniques, in terms of new devices to try, and in terms of what it cost. And what didn't change on the other side was finding a way to pay for it. We left the same old creaky, small health insurance system in place. We left in place a system where literally billions of dollars are drained out to pay for the administrative costs of a health insurance system, to pay CEO fancy salaries. We take healthcare dollars and spend them over on administration instead of taking all of the healthcare dollars and spending them on the costs of buying the actual health care. The message is beginning to leak out. No one is safe. You have health insurance, it'll make you a little safer. But anyone shy of the multimillionaires is just not safe.